spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and it's Saturday, and you know what that means? It's time for all the action figure toy news of the week that interested me, that hopefully interests you guys too, and we are doing the toy news of the week, and this is what we do on Saturdays now on the channel. It changed a few weeks ago, of course. If you're looking for weekly purchases, that is over there on Sunday, and of course, if you want both of them, Friday on Patreon. But Saturday toy news, Sunday weekly purchases. Thank you guys for watching both of those. So there you go, but let's kick off the toy news. But let's kick off, probably saying, Kyle, what are you wearing today? Well, very, very busy week this week. Just left a meeting, straight to the toy news, back to some meetings. So I had a little hour window here. I said, I'm leaving the suit on. We're going to do, usually we got business hat Kyle. We got suited business Kyle today. So play along, play along. It's not the normal heavy metal t-shirts that I am more familiar to wear on videos, but we'll play along. It's fun, a little change of pace. There you go. Never hurt anybody, I guess. But let's kick off all the news this week. And like I said, a very, very long week. And we are very close to the holidays. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody that does celebrate Thanksgiving. We're coming up on that. So a little bit slower in the toy news, but there's still some news to talk about this week. But one thing we also got to talk about, we always talk about at the top, is the Patreon giveaway for the month of November for you Patreon supporters. You guys know who you guys are, and if you want to support the Patreon, check out the link in the description below. This month, we're giving away the brand new Mattel Creations exclusive Retro 4-pack, so you got to be a member of the Patreon. We will draw this about the 1st of December. Let the winner know, but always got to plug the Patreon at the beginning of the video here. But let's dive into the wrestling news. We'll start with wrestling news, work our way through, and a little bit of a mixed bag this week. Not the biggest week we've ever had for news, but definitely some interesting tidbits out there. So let's start with wrestling news, and if you guys don't know, well, you know now. Ringside Collectibles, they got their Thanksgiving sale going on right now. Save an extra 10% with discount code Kyle. You guys know that. And we're getting dangerously close to the Black Friday sale, and if it's like years past, Black Friday sale 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4, the hottest deals. We say it on the channel all the time, got to get a deal. Hottest deals of the year at Ringside Collectibles around this time frame. So you long gamers, I always appreciate you long gamers, people that have been waiting for some of the older sets, you are going to get some smoking deals. And as we've talked about in these very videos, the deals are coming, folks. The deals are coming. We'll talk more about that here in Toy News video. But there's some deals on Ringside now. There's going to be some big-time deals in the next month or so. So you long gamers, you're going to win on this one for sure. So make sure you use discount code Kyle while you're over there as well. But let's dive into some wrestling figure announcements this week. The Asylum Toy Store, of course, Asylum Toys. They've been dealing with some Cellas, or I guess they're now Wrestling Trader figures. But we do know they have their very own wrestling toy line that's coming out. We've talked about the Legion of Doom, the Road Warriors coming. They did announce Scott Norton, Vicious on the back, which leads us to believe they're going to announce Delicious in Buff Bagwell, probably any day now. We'll see what happens there. But they also announced this week was Referee Earl Hebner. That's a good one there, I think, for referee fans. You need a referee in your figure fed. Earl Hebner is coming in 2 different variations, I guess. The zebra striped wrestling referee shirt, or Foot Locker employee, whatever you want to call him, or the baby blue package of shirt that we've seen, of course, from the double switcheroo with his twin brother Dave and Earl back in the day, the old WWE referee or WWF referee shirts back in the day. So pick your poison or pick both. Those are going to be available for pre-order on the Asylum Wrestling Store. Very interesting line. I am looking forward to getting mine in hand so I can compare them to some of the other Mattel properties that we have right now. See how they do, if they line up together, if they are worthy of putting together. I guess we'll see where that goes very, very soon. Hopefully sooner than later, but we'll see. But that's the Asylum Store. We also saw Impact figures. We talked last week about Jordan Gray. She leaked her images of her prototype on Twitter. Well, this week we saw the rest of the crew. We saw Eddie Edwards. Of course, we saw Jordan Grace. We saw Deonna Purrazzo, and then we saw Moose. So with Jazzwares, AEW figures, the Mattel Elite figures, if they do not, I just don't know how that's going to be good. It's going to be really good. I think that will help their sales. So more to come on that. But at least we got prototypes. We know with the whole Cella situation in the last month or so, we were kind of up in the air, but it looks like these are coming to fruition. So expect these sometime in 2023. Hastel Toys, man, shout out to old Hastel Toys. He's not messing around. He's getting his name every week. There's something going on. Last week we talked about Tatanka is coming to the lineup. Well, this week it looks like he's got Carlito with Apple and everything. So Carlito coming to that. And we talked about it last week. It's weird, the retro toy line, the retro toy craze, I really do think it's falling down a lot. It's really was up here. It's way down here right now with all the different players in there and everybody just showing artwork. Everybody's just showing their artwork, but where are the figures? That's what we need to see. So hopefully we start getting some of these figures we've shown pictures for years at this point, it seems like. But Hastel Toy coming in with Carlito, a Ruthless Aggression favorite. So there you go. So he will be coming. We talked last week, of course, the Coliseum collection, Hulk Hogan, Terry Funk, the Mattel Creations exclusive, still up for pre-order right now on Mattel Creations. You snooze, you lose on this one. Everybody needs that Terry Funk in their collection. And the Hulk Hogan, not too shabby either, but it is still up there. It's one of those things that's supposed to be up there for a while. It's not the San Diego Comic-Con that's like a lightning sellout, and we talked about it last week, so you really can't win. If it sells out right away, you didn't make enough. If it lingers for a week now, you made too many. Well, I think we're okay. We just got to re-engage our brains a little bit on some of this kind of stuff. It isn't a nonprofit. They're trying to maximize sales. They're trying to get these into the hands of as many people as they can, and that is definitely a good thing. So if you want Hogan, you want Terry Funk, MattelCreations.com, that's the place to get those too. But during Steve Ozer's live, I got to kind of in-depth watch that a little bit closer. Of course, I filmed the weekly toy news before he did his live, him being over there on the old West Coast. We do know Rick Rude and Jake the Snake Robert is coming to town. Very cool LJN-inspired gear like we're accustomed to. That's a really good two-pack. I wouldn't say they're, you know, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, Ric Flair level, but that second level down, you got the Jake Roberts, the Rick Rudes, the Mr. Perfect, some of those guys, all Hall of Famers, and it's a great two-pack, and it does work together because we all do remember their feud back in the day, in the early WWF days, or at least early WWF watching days for me. So I'm excited about that one. It sounds like that's coming in March, so I guess we got a ways to go, which is okay, because they need to spread these things out a little bit, and we do know the retro, the next 4-pack of retros. We're giving away the latest one here, but the next one going to be a little orange card based, and we saw in Steve's background, he had that back there, whether or not he was supposed to do that or not, who knows, but it did have kind of an homage with the orange packaging to the orange card series that never happened back in the Hasbro days, so I thought that was really cool, and of course that's going to be a Doink the Clown, a USA Lex Luger, Tugboat, oh yeah, Tugboat, and then Greg the Hammer Valentine, of course, in his classic rhythm and blues. So it's like basically an unreleased set from back in the day finally coming to fruition in this day and age. So that's going to be the next 4-pack. Once again, I don't know if retros are as hot as they were, so it'll be interesting how many they make of these and how well these do end up selling. So more to come on those. I'm sure we'll get noticed that, hey, in 3 weeks, these are going up on Friday, and we'll talk about that in the toy news when that does come, so stay tuned for that. Another thing, if you're an Eagle Eye watcher of that very Steve Ozier live video on Instagram, you saw the Ultimate Edition cane in the background, and one thing we noticed right away was that packaging is much smaller than the traditional Ultimate Edition packaging. This is an Ultimate cane, but it's not going to be in the traditional Ultimate Edition packaging. Disappoints a few collectors out there, myself included. I really would have liked to have seen either no packaging or the same packaging, not some new hybrid in the middle. I think Steve did explain, saying, hey, this is a big ring set. It's not quite the same. It's not apples to apples. I think a baggy version on this would have been better. Personally, it does have a box. There's no window on it, anything like that. A lot of people are saying, is that a look into the future? I think Steve said, no, that's not necessarily a look into the future, just a way to get the box in here. Me personally, it's just my opinion, I prefer no box at all because that box is going to look weird with my lineup of Ultimate Editions, and it's got to be in there because it is an Ultimate Edition at the end of the day. But some of you guys probably noticed that as well. But I'm excited for that Kane Ultimate Edition. I'm excited for the ring. A little bit disappointed, though, and we talked about this a month ago when this was announced, 6 weeks ago, whatever it's been. It feels a little too hot on the heels of the crowdfunding ring. I think they should have waited a little bit between these. But it is what it is. It's Mattel. That's their business decision. As we always say, it is not a non-profit. So there you go. So we do have that coming out. A few other things that caught my eye this week. Old Foco. Foco and their bobbleheads. They got two big head bobbleheads. They're like smaller but still have a big head. I don't know. I've never bought one of these brand of bobbleheads. But they got two different versions of the Ultimate Warrior coming out. A regular and a variant version. Both $55. Oh my gosh. That seems like a lot for a little bobblehead. but it's the Ultimate Warrior. I'm thinking I'll probably pick up one or the other. I don't know if I'm going to get both, but you know, I'm crazy. Sometimes it might catch me at a whim. I might pick up both of these, but I do love the looks of the Ultimate Warrior. Very similar to a previous bobblehead they have, so it almost feels like reuse in the bobblehead game. What are we doing here? Getting reuse in everything going on these days. But that is out there if you are interested. Keeping on the wrestling train here, I think this is the last bit of wrestling news this week. Our friends at FTC, yes, FTC, the highs and lows of the wrestling figure game. A lot of lows at FTC, as we do know. We did just recently unbox that FTC referee on the channel. Check that one out if you have any interest in that. Smoke and mirrors, maybe, but a little bit of a failure in my eye. I think that could have been a little taller and we would have been off to the races, but it is what it is. But FTC did come out with a Rosemary figure. Of course, Rosemary from Impact Wrestling. You know me, I'm a sucker for face paint, even if it's on a female. And this one looks okay from a distance, but then it has some of the FTC issues that we're used to. The body size looking a little weird, a little out there. Would have been really cool to get a Rosemary, but I think I'm going to pass on this one. I'll wait for the Impact line that we talked about previously in this video. But if you're into Rosemary, you're into female wrestling figures, FTC's got their latest one out there for all to pick up if you are so inclined. So there you go. A few other things this week as far as toy news. What the heck? The Royal Guard TIE Fighter Pilot, Star Wars, Amazon exclusive. We've got a mouthful here. But of course, Return of the Jedi. It is a 2-pack. It went up on Amazon at like $69. What is the price on this? I got this hanging out here. $69.99. What are we doing of the week is what that is. Absolutely unbelievable, the price point on that. How can they justify that at $69.99? Now, if this was an Admiral Akbar Wicket 2-pack, I'd say $89.99 all day long. $89 is fair. $69, that's a deal on those two. But a TIE Fighter Pilot and a Royal Guard, which we've had. There's no new tooling here. These are just straight up re-releases. How does Hasbro justify this price point? I have no idea. I understand a lot of the price points. We talk with the business hat and today, hey, the business suit today. We talk about it a lot, and I understand there is a tax for Disney. I mean, the Disney tax, I guess you would call it, because they have to pay to get the rights for Star Wars. Where G.I. Joe, for example, you get a little bit more bang for your buck because Hasbro owns G.I. Joe. They do not own Star Wars. They do not own Marvel Legends. So there's a little bit extra in there. I understand that. There is not that much extra in this, so I have no idea what's going on there. Straight up re-releases, if they were new figures, new tooling, that's a different story. We do not get that here. So this is about the hardest pass I've seen in a long, long time. And I gotta be honest, $69.99 to go. I guarantee 6 months after this comes out, they're gonna have a lightning deal, $29.99 for this 2-pack. I just do not see a lot of people paying up this price for that. $49.99, maybe $25 each a figure. I could see some people, especially diehard Star Wars fans, getting after. But $69.99, what are we doing? That's the definition. You look that up in the dictionary, that picture will be in there in the new editions. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So there's that. Confusing. A little Masters of the Universe this week. We did see from the Masterverse. We should have known this was coming, or at least I should have known, or we all should have really known this. Sunman was there, and you can't have a Sunman without a pig head. And we got pig head coming to Masterverse line. It'll be interesting to see how this. It does look kind of a cool figure, but once again, it's outside of the He-Man universe I grew up in. Obviously, a lot of Rulers of the Sun fans. I've heard from a few of you here on the channel, so you're probably really happy about that. I'm not against this pig head, but as usual, there's other characters I would have had in front of Pighead, but you got Sunman. I guess you need his biggest threat, his biggest opponent, and that's where Pighead does jump in. So we got Pighead coming to the Masterverse line sooner rather than later. And then one came out of left field a little bit, or at least it did for me, maybe not some of you. Mondo, of course, we know all about the Mondo Battle Cat, the He-Man, the Skeletors, the She-Ras of the last few weeks. Well, they announced Anti-Eternia He-Man to the Mondo 1/6 scale line. Very, very cool. Now, this is like the black, darkened, red-eyed He-Man, evil He-Man from Germany. He was part of the Germany audio books is where he got his start, I guess. A very good, easy repaint. Once again, it's not going to be for everybody, but man, it does look cool, but we're talking plus $300 for this guy. I really wanted just the core, but I'm leaning towards this, but I don't know. I don't know if I can pull the trigger on this one, but apparently this thing called Designer Con, it's going to be an exclusive there with some extras going up online for anybody to take a shot out. So if you are interested in that, speak now or forever hold your peace, because I bet you this will be a pricey one. Like a lot of the Mondo stuff, they rise in value. Got to think Anti-Eternia He-Man will follow suit in the months and years to come. So there's a little He-Man action this week. How about pop vinyls? Now, we don't talk a lot of Funko Pops here on the channel, but this week they were speaking to old Kyle this week, bringing out some heavy metal pop vinyls, and we're finally getting, this one's a must-have, a must-buy for me. I picked him up over at Entertainment Earth. Use discount code Kyle Peterson, save yourself 10% when he does come in stock, of course. $39 and up, does ship free. But Ronnie James Dio is getting a Funko Pop. Man, that should have been out years ago. I'm all in. It looks like it's rainbow version of Ronnie James Dio. More on that later, but it does kind of lead the way. Are we going to get a Holy Diver Dio? Are we going to get a Solo Years Dio? A Black Sabbath Dio? We'll see what happens. I love me some Dio. A lot of you real hardcore metalheads love some Dio. And Dio's a little bit of all the rage right now, as there is a documentary that was in theaters for a couple of nights. But I believe December 1st it is going to Showtime. Of course, the cable network Showtime. They are getting the Ronnie James Dio documentary. And I think that's going to open up a lot of eyes to the magic of Ronnie James Dio and the greatness of Ronnie James Dio. So this pop, all day long, I'm picking this up. That's going to be on my desk at work day one. But they didn't stop there. They announced a big multi-pack of Iron Maiden with some glow-in-the-dark gimmicks and things like that. These guys were in solo runs before. Now we're getting a big box set. And speaking of box sets, one that excites a lot of people, I'll never claim to be the biggest Pantera fan ever. I dabble a little bit, but nowhere near of my holy grails of metal fandom. A lot of people, of course, do love Pantera. A lot of kids I grew up with were big Pantera guys. I respect them. I like them enough, just not at my top list with the Motorheads and the Priests and the Maiden and the Dios and those guys. But Pantera pop box set, that's going to speak to a lot of people. I think that will be a very good seller. Very cool. So that is coming as well. So Funko Pop's giving us some heavy metal action this week. I'm all in. I'm all in on that kind of stuff. So very cool there. A couple other notes here. I guess we'll talk one more thing and then just a little commentary. A little business commentary. We did see Marvel Select, I guess two things. Marvel Select, Diamond Select coming in hot with Iceman this week. That's a pass for me. I don't feel I need a 7-inch scale Iceman unless you're looking for one to blend in with your McFarlane toy figures. Or maybe you missed a earlier version of Iceman. You might want this. Or you're all in on the Marvel Select figures too. But cool enough, just not for me on this Iceman. But one they did announce from Diamond Select that's really cool, and it's going to go pretty good with my Bruce Lee that I have on my shelf. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme, Bloodsport's own Jean-Claude Van Damme, old JCVD himself. I'll probably pick that one up. A kid of the 80s, of course, we all love Jean-Claude Van Damme. You know, kicking people, roundhouse kicking people, blood-sporting people, doing his thing. I'm all in on that Jean-Claude Van Damme. We didn't talk about this last week because of lack of time, but this week got a little bit more time, so I figured I'd throw it in there just so you guys are all aware if you're not aware yet. Mythic Legion's coming with their latest pre-order wave, and I think the pre-order goes up about January 1st, I think is where that does end. And it is the Necronominos wave. Hopefully I didn't butcher that too much. I'm sure I did. But a very interesting wave of figures. I love the Mythic Legion figures. I would be all in. I just don't have the room, and let's be honest, the finances for all the lines. They are a little bit more pricey, but some of the coolest figures you will ever see. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce any of their names, so I'm going to butcher every single one of their names. But we get one guy that has all these talons out the back, a little skeleton warrior that looks absolutely amazing. I'm trying to decide, I'm going to pick and choose, or I'm just going to go all in. I haven't decided yet. We got till January 1st, but I'm going to pick up some of these for sure. We do get a knight, a human. This horse is absolutely stunning. This like skeletal horse with all kinds of stuff. How cool is that? I love horses in my collection. We've seen my Adam Hangman Page figures, Gunslinger Spawn. Something about a horse in figure form is just really cool, especially when it goes with an action figure line. So this one looks really awesome. And then you get one more for the knight. Obviously a much more traditional horse than the skeletal horse we just saw, but very cool there for another setup. I really like that. Then you get another knight-type character looking really good. Nice teal color on him. Then you get a wild one with like a skeletal dog and like a crazy lady. I'm just kind of just throwing it out there, but it's just wild. You get like a bird cage back behind there with crazy stuff in it. Just absolutely insanity with some of these sculpts and characters they do create. Get another knight. Then we get another skeleton like guy. The time is up. It's like a young Killer Cross. I don't know, a skeletal thing, but looks really good there. You get another knight. This guy's one of the giant figures, so he's a little bit larger. He's got a skull head as an alternate head. Just next level on all these figures. Just so cool. I don't even know what you call this thing here. He's got multiple arms. It's a Skeletor with some horns. Just absolutely wild, the creativity on this line here. And then the final one is kind of like a skeletal zombie coming after. So a very cool line, one that will display extremely well. Obviously, very pricey, as we're accustomed to with these. I mean, the all-in prices are very expensive. I mean, you're looking around $500 and some to get every single one of those figures. But they are very cool. Not for everybody, but Mythic Legion seems to grow. With every new set they put out, they really do seem to grow in fan base. So kudos to them. Kudos to the Four Horsemen. The Four Horsemen created many figures from many different toy lines over the years that we absolutely love and have in our collections this days. But I want to talk about that Mythic Legion. Be interested to see how many of you guys are all in on these Mythic Legions. I personally dabble. I'm sure some of you guys dabble, and I'm sure some of you guys are probably all in on that stuff because they do display really well with your He-Man type stuff. Maybe it's some of your Storm collectible type stuff. So very cool at the end of the day. And the last thing I was going to kind of talk about is if you guys saw my figure hunt, of course, every Friday on the channel we do figure hunts. Seeing things build up, specifically Walmart. We're seeing what we've been talking about since August, that fall stuff is coming, but then the winter Christmas stuff is going to be insane, and we're seeing it. If you're in your Walmarts, they got pallets everywhere. It feels like there's nowhere to walk in between anymore because they have so much stuff on the floor. Pallet after pallet of toys, specifically what we care about, everywhere. There's just stuff everywhere, and unfortunately it's nothing I'm looking for, so that hurts, but there's toys aplenty. There is going to be deals. You know Target's going to be in the same boat. Online retailers in the same boat. All these companies, there's going to be deals to have. I would say whatever you're doing, shop around. Shop around because there is going to be so many deals. Every week there's going to be something crazy at Target. Spend $100, get $25 off. Spend $150, get $70 off. They might have stuff like that. And all these places, price match guaranteeing. Target, they're posting commercials. I'm seeing it all the time on TV saying, hey, we are price matching through the end of the year. You buy something at Target, it goes on sale 3 weeks later. Bring your receipt back. Bring your red card back. We will honor that difference. So keep your receipts on everything you're buying. Play the long game, and I think there's a lot of people, you long gamers, you're going to save an absolute fortune this year like never before. But that being said, come after Christmas, there's going to be a lot of carryover. My gut tells me we're going to have a lot of carryover. There's going to be some clearance deals for days. After that, though, I got to think by spring and summer, we're going to be back to the dark days of pre-COVID. If you guys remember hunting pre-COVID, there was a lot of times store pegs very empty because Targets, Walmarts, all this extra inventory they thought would move through the registers, that's being wiped away. It's not moving as fast as they want, so they're saying, hey, next year, we want half the amount of this, half the amount of this. We don't want this anymore. We're going to start seeing that stuff next year, putting the old business suit on. So be prepared. Some of the stuff that we're looking for next year is going to be a lot harder to find than years past. It's going to really go back to almost pre-COVID time frame, or right at the height of COVID time frame. We're really at a glorious time right now where everything is pretty findable with just a little bit of work. And if you play the long game, you can get a lot of things on deal. We're going to go back to the thing where it's going to be hard to find some stuff your areas may never see, and then trying to get a deal on it next to impossible for the most part. So interesting times to the retail landscape coming here. Going to be a very interesting Christmas season. And guess what? We'll be here for all of it here on the Toy News and on the channel, talking all things action figures that we know and love. Final piece of business this week in the Toy News video, album of the week. And we talked about this guy a little earlier. I was rocking a little bit of Rainbow Rising. Of course, Ronnie James Dio on vocals, Richie Blackmore on guitar. Don't mess with old Richie Blackmore. One of the most interesting people in hard rock heavy metal history. If you don't know Richie Blackmore, look him up. What a talent. What an interesting individual. But Ronnie James Dio, Stargazer. This is kind of where Dio really got his break into the world. This was the one that really put him on the map. Of course, later he went on to his solo career and Black Sabbath. Can't forget about his time in Black Sabbath. One of the most underrated albums of all time is his Black Sabbath stuff. But like songs like Stargazer, Tarot Woman, you cannot go wrong with Rainbow Rising. If you've never heard Rainbow Rising, man, what are you waiting for? Check out Ronnie James Dio, Rainbow and the Boys, Tarot Woman, a great one. Stargazer, like I said, another great one on that album. Definitely worth checking out. Definitely worth being the album of the week. So there it is. There is the Toy News of the week. What say you guys out there? What did you hear? What are you looking for? Anything here pique your interest? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, you made it this far. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bell. As you guys know, we got videos every single day and then some. So make sure you turn on the old notification bell. Don't forget about the Patreon. We showed the giveaway this month. Of course, it does support the channel. You also get early access to a lot of videos, bonus videos, Q&As, you name it. A lot going on in the old Patreon channel. Don't forget about social media. Sir Paul64 is where you're going to find me on Twitter. For now, they say Twitter's going away. I don't know. I don't keep up with that stuff. But that's where you can find me on Twitter. Don't forget Instagram, _Kyle_Peterson. So for this week's toy news, I'm Business Kyle. And I'll see you guys all real soon.